I'm Dean Newland, and welcome to Leadovation. Reimagine, facilitate, flourish. This podcast is dedicated to the art and science of innovative leadership. Through insightful interviews with industry experts, I bring you cutting-edge strategies and experiences of innovative leadership, helping you think differently, act strategically, and achieve remarkable results. Join me as I provide insights and tools that empower you to make smarter decisions, forge meaningful relationships. Welcome to Leadovation. What if the habits that made you successful are the ones burning you out? This conversation challenges our obsession with grit and overachievement and explores why so many high performers hit midlife feelings of anxiousness, restlessness, and being unfulfilled. You'll learn how to spot burnout early, use a simple 17-second pause to reduce conflict, and redefine healthy drive around purpose, not pressure. If success hasn't brought you the freedom you expected, this episode will change how you think about ambition and well-being. Keren, it's great to have you. Keren, have you here on the show from beautiful Austin, Texas. We are socialized as kids that the path to success takes hard work. And we've been hearing that over and over and over again. Parents telling their kids, well, just work hard. You'll be fine. You'll be successful. And then those kids grow up and they have lives of their own and they have families. And they still work on that mantra of work hard. And then they somehow get into the mid-40s or so, and they went, wait a minute, is that all there is? I mean, what the hell's going on here? I've been working my ass off for the last 40 years, and I'm not quite sure that I'm happy. I'm not quite sure that I'm fulfilled. In fact, I even saw recently a TED Talk on what makes somebody successful, and they brought back that same mantra, grit, working hard. So how do we, in a society that values grit, values working hard, still have a healthy drive without it becoming something that drives over us?
What a beautifully stated question, Dean. It's first of all a pleasure to be here with you. It is really sunny today in Austin. It's nice, 80 degrees, and we're filming in December. So I just wanted everyone in the country to be very jealous of that.
We are coming from Bend, Oregon, where it's raining and snowing at the same time. It looks like a slushy out there. I am definitely jealous.
Well, y'all come on down and visit. We'll go to the Roosevelt Bar and enjoy ourselves together. To answer your question, because we're already delving into the world of happiness, what with talking about enjoying the weather and enjoying a good cocktail bar, for those who are still out there past their 40s and still believe that the path to enlightenment and freedom have to do with hard work, with grit, and with just climbing incessantly up that ladder, my only question is, by way of answering that question, how's that working for you? Most of us will learn invariably two things. Number one, either that the results missed the mark. In other words, you don't actually have the dream life that you thought were the promise of this very hard work. Or number two, that you did get the fruits of that labor monetarily, but that they did not come with the desired level of freedom, ease, joy, and satisfaction that they promised. And this invariably will produce what is known as the midlife crisis. But it's also, in my specific arena, the overachiever's crisis. Overachievers really do end up at the top of that mountain looking around going, is that it? Is this how I'm supposed to feel? And they're asking that question because they don't feel the way they thought they were going to feel. They don't think that they feel free. They don't fall asleep at night not worrying that the other shoe is going to drop. And they're still in a form of anxiety almost all the time. And so if that aimlessness or anxiousness is present in anyone who's listening today, it's my hope to talk about the antidotes and the beginnings of the climbing down that ladder.
All right, so different perspective. Are we assuming that the goal is that peace, that happiness, that balance that you talked about? Would some people argue that maybe that we are not supposed to be balanced and happy, that life is hard, life is rough, life is tough. And if we have the perspective that we are going to somehow create a hack that prevents us from having those experiences, we are foolish. What do you think to that?
I don't think to that. I answer with research. The research shows
Okay.
definitively, by the way, in the last 30 years, psychology as a whole has moved from the study of how to alleviate the pain of neurosis, the pain of depression, for example, to the study of happiness and how to have an enlightened, fulfilling life in service with deep relationships, with healthier relationship to self. And the research will indicate, and that's, by the way, why Brene Brown is so popular, the work of
Sure.
Dr. Neff is so popular, is ultimately down to inner peace, to fulfillment, to joy, and all of these are around purpose. And that began, by the way, even before that, with works like Man's Search for Meaning by
Hmm.
Viktor Frankl. And so the answer is to each their own. I do know Archie Bunker types. That's a real old timey reference, but Archie
Sure
Bunker,
is.
whose worldview was informed by some life is hard, deal with it type of neurosis. But if you really do observe those characters, Archie Bunker was a sad person. He was a
Hmm.
person with a difficult life of his own making. Today, 50 years after that show, a lot of us expect more from life. A lot of us do expect to have rich and fulfilling relationships. A lot of us want not only the success that comes with success, but also the success that comes through real personal feelings of freedom and self actualization. And if that does resonate with you, I encourage it and I can back it up with an enormous amount of research, which I cite in my book.
Totally do. I had to throw it out just
Of
to be
course.
the contrarian, because I have to personally, I totally believe that. The very first workshop I ever did was called Discover Your Life's Purpose. So, you got me at hello, but I had to
Did
ask
you
that other
enjoy the Archie
question.
Bunker reference?
Oh, I know the Archie Bunker reference. It's kind of difficult today given the fact that Meathead is no longer with us, but
Yes.
given the news that we heard recently, given that it's December of 2025 when we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
One of the questions I sometimes ask executives and teams when we are talking about conflict is to go back to what conflict was like when they were kids and how did that approach to dealing with conflict influence the way they deal with conflict as adults. They go, whoa. So now you start to see the patterns. I also have this perspective that this workaholic mentality started very, very early.
Yes.
How do we walk that back as socialized human beings who are now in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s? The pattern and the behavior is so well established, even
Yeah.
if it's not comfortable, at least it's familiar. What do we do? How do we walk that back?
Well, unfortunately, the answer to that particular question is not simple, but you're absolutely right. All of our nervous system default and our patterning, including conflict management, does stem from childhood. Again, this is research. This is Jungian research and beyond. So, over 100 years of research at this point. And many of us will revert inadvertently in a moment of challenge, in a moment of conflict, to our inner child core wounds, right? So, how we learn conflict, how we learn to deal with conflict will start to inform how we behave, not only in social scenarios and in our intimate relationships, but also, unfortunately, at work. A person who grew up with a degree of abandonment, they felt unseen as children, will be clingy or hyper anxious, right? A person who felt rejected, who suffered a lot of criticism as a child, will tend to move into people pleasing or withdrawal. They'll be polar essentially in their reactions. So the answer begins in discovering, taking in earnest what Dean has just offered you, and having a moment to reflect on that, to really ask yourself: Are my defaults, is the way that I'm about to react programming or reasonable? And when you start to inject that degree of mindfulness, you will already start to come up most likely with more toned down reactions. In other words, you'll inject mindfulness to the point where you can possibly become more proactive or more thoughtful in your responses. To go all the way, you may want to consider some degree of behavioral coaching or therapy. And in my book, I give people some of the introductory frameworks that we teach to help people resolve that, regardless of how deep you want to go into your past. One of them is the pause principle, which is my framework for snapping out of reactivity and into more proactive responses or more fruitful approaches to solving challenges. And the other is the very, very famous framework known as the work by Byron Katie, which are 4 questions that inject a degree of mindfulness in any moment of challenge or any moment of conflict, and that help you manage your responses a little bit more.
And what are those? I mean, keep going with that. What are those
let's
for?
Talk a little bit about Byron. Let's talk about my framework first, the pause principle. Yeah. It's really 3 steps. In any moment of challenge, when you're about to engage in conflict, instead of, because you most likely in a moment like that will not have time to think back to your childhood, you will do 3 things. The first is ask yourself if the problem is the problem or is how you're about to respond to a bigger problem. If you're an adult, you will likely understand that how you're about to react, if it is uncollaborative, if it is dismissive, if it is argumentative, if it is harsh in any way, it's likely going to be bigger than the problem itself. It will cause more chaos than it will a solution. That'll take you to step 2. What other thing might be going on here? Just ask yourself the question, what else might be going on here? This broadens the perspective and broadens your awareness. In any scenario of conflict or challenge, if you are willing to take 17 seconds, and that's all this takes, 17 seconds to consider what you might not be considering, for example, how they might be feeling about this, or what circumstances might be invisible to you right now. What else might be going on here? Very simply, you will start to calm yourself down, and you will start to also consider other possibilities. And that'll bring you to the 3rd step, which is, what's the opportunity here? You'll basically learn to seize upon a moment that looked like it only offered you one possibility, which was likely not good, to a totality of possibilities, some of which may not be so bad. I'm happy to demonstrate with an example of how this works, but that definitely helped me to already modify my behavior. Even before, Dean, I did the deep inner work of understanding why I did what I did, where it came from.
So what does healthy drive look like?
I think a healthy drive is not about the self. I think a healthy drive is about sharing. It's that simple. It's the intention changes. Instead of a drive that is for the self, for the validation of the self, for the ambition, the drive becomes for society, for your community, or just for your marriage and for your family. It's for others rather than for yourself. That drive becomes very useful.
I respect that, but isn't there some part of my giving to others is also a self-satisfaction that I've been able to give to others? I mean, in a sense, do you ever remove the self in your quote unquote selfless acts?
I've thought about this a lot, and I think, yes, you do. There are people who are truly altruistic. It just takes an enormous amount of work and a lot of destruction of the ego. But ultimately, we do reach the conclusion that there is really nothing that you are going to keep. So why care about your own possession of anything?
Even if the possession of what I might be keeping is the knowledge that I help somebody else?
That's nice, but that means that you'll also acknowledge when you didn't help somebody else, and that's extraordinarily painful. So I'd rather not live with either.
So is this in part a exercise of overstepping or having an intention for a reality that doesn't experience pain?
Yeah.
Is that part of the benefit here? Are you suggesting a world where pain is not necessary?
I don't believe pain is necessary. I think that pain is unfortunately just a fact of life. What I mean by that is I personally have never met Gandhi. In my own experience, I have not attained that level of enlightenment, and I've never met anybody who's except maybe I have met Asha and Byron Katie. They are truly remarkable, very enlightened human beings, or at least seemingly so. My experience of this is that we sort of touch it and go back to our physical self, touch it and go back to our physical self. And in so what I can tell you we experience is a minimization of suffering, not an elimination of suffering. The pain is different. It's experienced for a much shorter period of time. And yeah, It's a fact of life. It's not necessary.
So then what is enlightenment?
Enlightenment is less experience of suffering, knowing a wholeness of the self. It's, and here, this is the interesting part. In my understanding, it's not only the minimization of suffering, it's the acceptance of suffering as just a part of the dance, which minimizes the pain of the suffering. In other words, I accept that part of life is horrible, and therefore I am less resistant to the horror of it.
So the awareness of the pain of life makes it less painful.
Yeah, it makes you live with the unimaginable.
And so can you be enlightened and be in the physical and be in your body and be able to pay your taxes and all the other things that we do?
Yeah. So again, I've met two exceptions to this rule. They are known as enlightened people. I personally just experience it every now and again. And then I snap back to person who pays taxes.
So then what is your North Star then with all the work that you do? What is the pinnacle peak that you are focused on and trying to accomplish yourself and helping others?
My pinnacle peak is to know and demonstrate ease to the best of my own personal ability so that other people can know what it looks like and hopefully find guidelines to attaining it themselves.
And then, Keren, why do this? I mean, what brought you here? How did you get to this point in your life? There must have been a great story,
Yeah.
not probably just one, that flipped on a switch for you.
Yeah.
I talked to a guy yesterday, and all of a sudden he's in a completely different path in his life. And I said, well, what happened? He goes, quite frankly, I almost died. I was in a car accident. It scared the shit out of me.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that's the case for you or me or anybody else, but what was it for you that got you going in this direction?
I almost died and it scared the shit out of me.
Are you serious?
I am.
Wow.
I lived in all the wrong ways that were unfortunately to society all the right ways. I'm one of those people who's just a classic overachiever. I was always like this. And my parents never needed to encourage me to do my homework. I was like the kid in the back of the class who was raising their hand going, can I do the bonus homework too, please? Just obnoxious Monica from Friends energy all my life. Did everything
Monica
right.
from Friends energy. I love
Yeah.
it.
Like me. Yes, I know. And then I graduate with straight A's. I get into any college that I want. I go back to Israel. I'm from Israel for the military. I become an officer in the army. After the army, I go to a really prestigious school. I get straight A's there. Then I land the big job. And then I do the big job and I marry the tall guy. Basically, check. So I'm climbing this ladder linearly all of my life, only to find that it's probably on the wrong wall. And I only found out when in my early 30s, I ended up in the shower, sobbing and suicidal, really ready to take my own life. I am very intimately acquainted with suicidal ideation. Also, I've been a suicide counselor for a very long time since then. It's a desperate moment where you really start to think, I don't know how I got here. Everything feels so miserable. And the only way I can think of is just to end it. And I was really there. Luckily, I did somehow snap out of it. I got out of the shower. I still remember thinking, I don't want to die. I want this act to die. I want this pretending to die. This pretending that I care about any of this. This pretending that this is working out for me. The marriage to a very tall guy, which as we all know is the apotheosis of anyone's desires, did look good on Instagram, but was miserable. I was in an abusive relationship. I was also in an abusive relationship with myself. I hadn't allowed myself to eat since the 90s. I was really hard on myself. Work situations were very tenuous. My relationships were very conditional. It was no wonder to me that I was feeling completely empty. And it's because I built everything on superficial achievement level, accolades level gratification. And so from there, I just kind of started to walk away from that life, Dean, and I burned it all to the ground, which was ironic because after going through a divorce and quitting my job and returning to basically the foundation of everything and making the decision to start over, I lost all my things in a fire.
No.
And then both of my cats died in the same month. And I ended up broke, alone, with nothing, and living on a friend's sofa. And that was when all of this deep inquiry started for me. This is where I really understood that I'd made a wrong turn here and I wanted to make a right turn. I don't think it has to be that grave for people, but I do think that the promise of overachievement is overhyped and the promise of enlightenment is enormous.
Did you identify why you did that? Like
Yes.
the overachievement, what was that about? And I'm
I
only
was
asking this personal question because I'm sure there's some people that could go, I relate.
yeah. I was rewarded for a very, very young age, from a very young age for achievement. And it's really addicting. So what you do is you try at all costs to maintain it.
And on the other side of the recognition was a parent, was a friend, was a uncle, I mean, people in your family.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who were themselves driven by insecurities, who themselves solved those insecurities through hyper achievement or an attempt to become presentable to their societies and to measure up.
So when one person changes the step in a dance, it sometimes causes the other to stumble. You changed your step in the dance in life. How did it affect the people in your life around you? Parents, family,
Man,
friends,
I
your
love
husband, the tall guy. What
that. I
happened
really
as a
love
result?
that question. So no one's asked me that, by the way. I've done like more than 60 podcasts this year. So kudos to you. That's a true degree of enlightenment in and of itself to ask that question. First, obviously, it messed up the relationship because I was no longer willing to present myself as that false self. And so the marriage dissolved almost immediately. That's a delightful thing. But I also went through a very long period, probably about 6 months, which to me was an eternity, of not speaking to my parents because I had to work out what the relationship dynamic was and why I felt so compelled to create this patterning. And until I resolved that within myself, I was not really ready to kind of mix with that image that they had of me and their way of interacting with me. And so when I re entered the relationship, which was quite painful for them, they hated this. They kicked and screamed and were very aggressive. We could experience a new dynamic together without even needing to talk about it.
So for a while, they couldn't connect with you because you were no longer there, the one that they knew before.
I wasn't there. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, because relationships are based on patterns sometimes, and you broke the pattern.
I sure did.
Yeah. So tell us what are you doing now? Give us a little bit of background in your world today relative to what you just described. I mean, you've obviously got a few things going for you right now.
Yeah.
You told me before we started, or you've got some great followers. What's your work like now? What are you doing?
So the first outcome has been I now do something for a living that I can't wait to do every day. I wake up eager to do it. I'm no longer under weird corporate strobe lights and feeling obligated to measure up and get along with people all the time. I just do what I love. And I genuinely, as an executive coach, as a speaker, and as a writer, genuinely get to live as who I am. The second thing is I am remarried. I got remarried 8 years ago. And
Congrats.
I think he is the most perfect human being I've ever met. And I know that no one is perfect, but it's just a delight and a joy. And I hope Ryan never, ever dies. I got two new cats, Moose and Waffle. They're really
Good.
great cats. They're a joy. And I live somewhere kind of relaxing. That's basically it. I just live my life in a way that works for me now.
All right. So what about the work you do and the clients you work with and the programs you have? Tell us a little bit about that.
Live with Enthusiasm is designed for people like me, basically strung out overachievers who don't understand why this is just not landing. And they're ready to do the deep work to understand what their pattern is and to see if there's a way to break out of that gilded cage. Because instead of working harder to build yourself a shinier cage, they really are interested in liberation. And that's what this work offers. I work with teams as well. I work with the teams at Estée Lauder and at Nike and at BNP Paribas, but I also work with individuals, and I think my favorite is working with individuals
Why is that?
because you can do much deeper work.
It's great. So you mentioned this really interesting, tough story that you had where everything crashed down. It's almost like the phoenix rising out of the ashes, and it's a dramatic story. It's made for TV story. I mean, it's huge, right?
Thank you.
Angelina Jolie is going to play you, right? It's a big story.
Wow. I would die. That would be amazing.
But I'm thinking that we don't necessarily want to go through that kind of
Yeah.
bottoming out the way you did. Certainly, we all have had our bottom out moments, but that's a pretty big one that you just described. What kind of messages, intuitive voices, physical sensations, thoughts, evidence can one identify long before they get to that bottoming out part of their life that says, excuse me, I think we need to take a step back and maybe find a different path? What do we need to look for so we don't get to the point where it becomes almost suicidal?
Oh, Dean, this is another exceptional question. I like to tell people you
I'm
have
2 for 2. What do you know?
No, seriously, it's just outstanding. You're amazing. The first thing I want to say is you got two options. One of them is trauma and the other one is coaching. I personally would not wait for trauma. My book Gilded ends with a chapter called Pray for a Shitstorm, because unfortunately, whether you decide to tackle this or not, your life will tackle this for you. And I don't say that in a threatening way or prophesaic way or anything like that. I just mean, I've seen this a million times. Believe it or not, if you decide not to take the bull by the horns, the bull will take you by the horns. Life will do you. The way to it is to avoid the trauma and to decide to tackle this yourself proactively is to recognize your feelings and not dismiss them. To start understanding that aimlessness, that numbing behavior, that scrolling incessantly instead of engaging in your relationship, that workaholism, the other patterns of numbing, such as drinking or shopping too much, the worry, the anxiety, they are not actually something to dismiss. They are something to pay attention to. They are something that should invite you into a deeper inquiry within yourself. And you can begin to inquire more deeply with YouTube videos, with exceptional podcasts like these, with books. You can also choose to do the inner work, to find someone, a real mentor of your choosing, to guide you through what's really happening here.
I think that's really good advice. And I'm also very aware that we choose people to help us reinforce our behaviors. There is our social circles. For example, you mentioned drinking.
Yeah.
Well, all my friends drink. That's what we do. That's how we connect. That's how I know that I'm not alone. So therefore, let's go out and drink every night or whatever the case may be. So what you're proposing is, in one way, a journey for the self, but it could also take on a rewriting of relationships.
Yes.
A rewriting of friendships.
Yes.
And I would assume that some people might go, too much.
It is.
I'm going to take the blue pill. Thank you very much. I don't want the red pill. I want the blue pill. Just let me stay in my little bubble. Yes, it might not be perfect, but at least I don't have to go through that.
Yeah.
So I think it takes a certain amount of courage that you obviously had and that other people have to have in order to take this path.
Listen, this is not for the faint of heart. What I did over the last 10 years it sounds very easy, but it wasn't. It was extremely hard, and it required a rewiring not only of my way of thinking and my behavior as a result of that, but also of my entire social structure and circle. In a couple of months after this podcast airs, my second book, the sequel, Guilt Free, will come out. And Guilt Free is essentially no, you don't get to take the blue pill. If you want the blue pill, you can stay at gilded level. But if you're ready to strip it all off, then guilt free is your way through it. And one of the things that this will cost you, that your new life will cost you, are most likely elements of your environment, which include the people you hang out with. There is no behavioral change without addressing the environment. And again, that's why that's what makes this so hard. In some cases, it's just a baby rupture like mine with my family. Although I did shed many, many friendships at that level as well. And some of them don't come back. But what you find on the other side will probably make this a lot easier than you bargained for. So don't be too scared of it. And if you are willing, keep going.
So what is your husband's name?
Ryan.
Ryan, right. How did you meet Ryan?
Tinder, like our grandparents.
So it's interesting. So, and it was just, you just hit it off right away?
Yeah, he was my third date on Tinder. For anyone who wants to get married, I'm going to give you the formula. Are you ready?
Go for it.
Number one, have a really honest profile. Both of us didn't have any nonsense on our profiles like, my favorite thing is avocado toast and I love to travel. None of that. We both said we are very serious readers and pretty liberal and like all the things you're not supposed to say on your profile, like just out there. And I just liked him instantly. He was so honest. We didn't have any nonsensical photos. It's like, this is what you're going to get. He said in his profile, the dog and I are a package deal. If you're interested,
take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it. And I thought that's perfect. And he was my third Tinder date, like 1, number 2, and number 3. Done. That's it. Show up and then show up at the date, literally ready to get to know somebody and to ask yourself, not, I hope he likes me, but I hope I like him. Those 2 rules alone will change your dating game.
So you obviously had a very honest, transparent profile. Were you also clear about what you wanted in a relationship?
Yes and no. No, in the sense of I don't do checklists anymore. Checklists got me the tall guy with the right job, with whatever nonsense. Yeah. That checklist nonsense is absolute ridiculousness. And I would never recommend it to anyone. But what I did know was what I wanted to feel, which was comfortable, compatible, engaged, loved, supported, a kindness, a decency of a human being, a level of integrity in another human being. And that's what I was watching for, and that's what I got.
It's a great story. When I met my wife, I should say, it felt like I had come home.
Yeah.
There's a familiarity there. It was like
I learned that from Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld, another super fun blast from the past. He told Oprah in an interview that I think really impacted the way I think about love, that he, until he was 45, was having a lot of fun dating everyone in the world. And then one day he met Jessica. And then Jessica came to his house. And he said, when he entered my house, I did not feel like there was a stranger. I felt like she was home. That's it. You're looking for a feeling, not a checklist.
Very good. I love it. So, Keren, how can people follow you? Where do they find you? If they want to work with you, what do they do?
So the best thing to do is check out at Coach Keren, which is on Instagram, Keren. I am told by my social media manager that we have a follower on TikTok, but as an elderly person, I don't care. And we have a podcast called Coached with Coach Keren. And then if you'd like to learn more or book a free consultation, it's KerenEldad.com. The most important thing, though, I think, the most valuable thing I've done is Gilded, which is my new book. I hope that it allows you to take, if you heard anything cool in this conversation, just the work a little bit further. Thanks for letting me share that.
Yeah. Before I let you go, is there anything in Gilded that you wish you had told this audience that you didn't have a chance to?
That's what I did with Guilt Free.
And what is Guilt Free about that we haven't talked about yet?
Well, Gilded is about getting you to the door of that cage and opening it. Guilt-free is the brutal truth of what it's going to take to live this way. And if you're ready for that level, wait till you see what's coming.
Great. Keren, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
It's been great.
Thank you for listening to Leadervation with Dean Newland. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to learn more about Dean or Mission Facilitators Leadership, go to mfileadership.com. That's mfileadership.com, or check the show notes. Reimagine, facilitate, flourish. Transform your leadership success with Leadovation.